So I've recently been obsessed with this silly little cooking anime called Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon for all you non-weebs out there. It's a fantasy story about a party of adventurers who delve into a dungeon to save the main character's sister from being digested by a dragon, with their only available food source being the dungeon monsters themselves, which is considered taboo among other dungeon explorers. Also, you can't die in the dungeon, which is definitely not a major plot point. It's a funny, charming story with a fun premise, originally authored by Ryoko Kui and adapted into an anime by the legendary Studio Trigger, who have previously made some of the greats like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which was a certified banger in my opinion. Anyways, no story would be complete without its main cast. Our main party consists of 4 key members. The leader, Laios, who's generally a pretty calm, chill dude, but when someone mentions monsters, he gets really excited and is basically just a walking monsterpedia and also the first one to suggest eating them. He's just like the kind of guy who's generally pretty normal, but when you talk about something that he's interested in, a lot more of his personality shines through. Also, he's really good at dog impressions for some reason. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's neurodivergent. The resident mage, Marcel, is a silly little elf girl. She's very proper and straightforward, having a very blunt method of solving problems, by blasting them into oblivion. She's the one who initially is repulsed the most by the prospect of eating monsters. She may act like comedic relief, but she's one of the more powerful combatants of the group, with her magic being extremely strong and versatile. Also, I think she might be a little bit racist, or at least just uneducated. A powerful elven mage who has a hatred towards a certain race. Sounds familiar. Next up, the realist of the group, Chiljuk. He's the halfling rogue with a knack for lockpicking and whose heightened senses help the party avoid traps. He may seem to lack a sense of adventure, but it's more about him just being cautious and on edge all the time. He's less oriented for combat, but is a great support member, with him being the party's guide and also finding shortcuts. He's usually the no-nonsense strategist, but can be sincere at times. And here he is, the wise warrior/cook of the party, Senshi. He's a dwarf who's been living in the dungeon and is very cautious about its ecosystem, thinking he's David Attenborough or something. He's also the one who cooks, and my god, the food in this anime looks good. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Senshi's the mentor figure who's a goofy little goober. Not a thought behind those eyes. There is another character I'd like to talk about, but I'll save it for later. Moving on, the animation. Studio Trigger absolutely cooked with this. Whether it be important fights or the silly moments, every motion is filled with this kind of cartoonish fluidity, not to mention the occasional funny edit. And also the food illustrations. I don't know why, but I want to take a bite out of my monitor every time I see a prepared meal. The world building in the series is also really fleshed out. There's so many races and monsters and excess bits of lore that you don't have to look hard to find, but it's still neat that it's there. Like the magic, it seems generic, but there are a lot of aspects to it. Or the actual dungeon itself. Besides being remnants of an old kingdom, not much is known about it in the series currently. I haven't read the manga yet, so I can't say anything. Spoiler warning for the end of episode 18 and onward. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to get spoiled. Speaking of monsters, races, and magic, there is one character that I've been eagerly waiting to talk about, and her name is Izutsumi. She is the most cat-like cat girl in all of anime. Like an actual cat, she's pretty outlandish and self-centered, but she's not actually a cat. She was a regular human who was cursed with black magic. Either way, she's got a lot more emotion and character than the rest of the party. Yeah, you can tell she's the favorite child. She's also my personal favorite because her being a new addition to the party means more interesting character dynamics and also funny cat girl go brr. She's picky, free-spirited, and tries to be independent whenever she can. This doesn't mean she's just a complete narcissist. She is very caring towards those she likes. She's also a ninja, which is quite fitting given her cat-like athletics. Not to mention, she was basically trained to be one for this other dude named Shiro, who lives in the Dungeon Meshi equivalent of Japan. But yeah, she's cool, she's funny, absolutely badass, and just a silly, scruffly little thing who is by far the best character in the show. You may be wondering, why didn't I talk about Fallon? Because I'm lazy and I wanted to rant about the cat girl. Anyways, the story. If I told you, that would defeat the purpose of trying to convince you to watch it, so I'm going to leave it at that. Dungeon Meshi is a charming little show with a lot more depth than you'd think. You all know the gist by now. I've been Blooper, and thank you for watching.